Alright, go.
Oh,
Wait on
okay,
you.
okay. God, shut up. Hello and welcome to D. Shut up. Hello and welcome.
Oh my
Mother. Every time. It's always Gabe. Every time I try to do the intro, he just starts laughing.
I know. Like an idiot. Oh.
Alright. Oh, I'm sorry.
You good?
Get on the podcast, you dumb idiot.
Okay.
Dumb idiot Jonesy.
I'm about to talk now. Are you good?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay. Hello, and welcome to DeTooned Episode 4. My name is Kyle. Once again, I am joined by my two favorite weebs in the whole wide room, Gabriel and Alex. Say hello, you idiots.
Oh, God. Okay, I'm fine. I held that in.
First of all, I resent being called an idiot. If anything, I suffer the two of you.
Oh, dude, you don't know how hard I was holding that in. Okay. Hi, everybody. How you doing? It's good to be back. It's good to be back after a minor hiatus.
Vacation. Sounds better.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that you know what? Yeah, since we had that whole conversation about hiatuses aren't strictly the best. Yeah, kind of ironic.
Kind of is.
It's fine. It's fine.
Art imitates life.
Because this is artwork. We are true artistes, unappreciated in our time.
Well, I mean, I am. I don't know what the hell you are doing.
I don't know what I'm doing half the time. You've seen that Doom video? The fucking intro doesn't play. It's awful. I've had so many problems with that. It's crazy.
Which is amazing because I have not heard anyone have any problems with that game.
I know. I don't get it.
It's like in a day and age where I don't think I've ever played a fucking game in the past 10 years that wasn't buggy as fuck on release. Doom was actually really fucking smooth, and it was impressive considering how good it was. And yet,
I have recorded undoctored, I should say, evidence that when I played that game, I want to say maybe 1/6 of the time, like one time out of 6, the intro music and like theme would actually play, and every other time it would just be dead silent until you got to gameplay.
You have the one
it was
defective
very
copy.
Straight. I get it's a digital copy. I don't even know how that's possible. Anyway, speaking of video games, I kind of wanted
smooth.
to. If it's okay with you guys, yeah, I know. That's a segue. If it's okay with you guys, I kind of want to front load this one because I feel like
It was
I
your
don't know.
suggestion.
I just know more about Overwatch than you, and it was my suggestion.
Go for it.
So, Overwatch, I think everybody knows what Overwatch is at this point, but if you don't, this is a new team-based shooter game released by Blizzard. I know this isn't sort of the thing we deal with on the podcast, but this is kind of an exception because recently, during Overwatch's release, leading up to the release, and after, since they apparently plan on continuing the series, the Blizzard team was creating small animated shorts starring the characters of Overwatch and taking place in the world of Overwatch, and they made quite a ripple. A lot of demand came about pretty swiftly. That why isn't Blizzard just using their amazing CG team, which they've always had? Blizzard's always been like sort of this amazing like Square Enix of American developers in that they always create these really lavish and amazingly produced cutscenes. Anyway, there's been a lot of demand that Blizzard sort of, either fund or just help create a Overwatch film or series. And I thought we could sit down and talk about Overwatch itself, the potential for that, whether or not they should or could do that at all. So I don't know if you guys want to take it away, but I definitely have a lot of thoughts in this regard because I have rewatched the shorts multiple times, and they're all good, but I think there is a lot to talk about here.
So I want to go ahead and say that while Jones was the one who wanted to bring this up as a topic for the show, it was initially my idea.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Don't even.
Okay, but it was.
Was it?
Yes!
How? When?
We had like an hour-long conversation about this that I started. You're welcome, by the way.
We had a conversation, and then one of us said, "Hey, let's put this on the podcast."
Yeah.
Did you know Alex invented Overwatch?
I didn't invent Overwatch.
Did you know Alex invented Blizzard?
See, I feel like if that was true, I would have a lot more money than none at all.
You would literally swim in money.
Yeah, I would, and I'd take pictures of it and post it on Facebook and be like, "Hey guys, guess what it's like being super rich?"
It's great, all this WoW money.
Yeah. And I'd be the asshole that would have all the money off of it while talking mad shit about it too.
I really enjoyed WoW, but
So
that
anyway,
is neither here nor there.
This whole conversation came about because me and Gabriel were having a conversation because we've been playing a lot of Overwatch with our friends lately. About just like the story of Overwatch and how it doesn't make any goddamn sense why
Yes, it does.
this incredibly rich, detailed, like lore and all these really cool, interesting characters exist in a game setting that doesn't allow any of it to work like at all. Like, I can't even. I just can't even.
Basically, what Alex is trying to say is that because of the game's format as a multiplayer shoot,
that's just like basic arena mode stuff with objectives, which the objectives sometimes don't even make sense half the time.
not the best avenue for storytelling.
No, considering like how interesting the background lore and history of the Overwatch world is, and how cool the setting is, and how great the character designs are, and all these characters have really cool, interesting backgrounds. And like me and Gabriel were talking just about how you could make some of them really mesh together, but there's no opportunity to explore that with the current format they have, except in the animated shorts, which just are really basically, they haven't really used that as an opportunity to do much storytelling, just mostly a lot of action sequences with a little bit of underlying stuff that can be gleaned kind of under the surface.
Yeah,
So,
I will say you can. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do want to say that I love the shorts. They're fantastic, but they are definitely promo. They're things to promote the game.
Oh, yes.
And you can tell. But at the same time, they are also very cool and do have small, really fun moments that you wish you could get more of. But there's only there's very little of that in the game itself.
Yes.
From what I have been told
Kyle,
personally,
you haven't
I have played a little bit.
'cause-
What I've been told is that there is a story in Overwatch, and as someone else has watched the shorts, yeah, there is definitely a story there that is sometimes in the foreground, sometimes hidden in the background. The entirety of the game, everything we play, is entirely non-canon. So you have the story that you're kind of not involved with at all, which kind of lends the credit of why not make it a series. I would personally prefer a series over a movie because there's only so much you can do in an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, and there's a lot of characters in a big setting here.
Right. That's what we decided. And so, we were talking is like, considering that Blizzard does have this really cool CGI team, how cool it would be if they like maybe expanded that studio a little bit and did like a Clone Wars style kind of episodic arc-driven series based on it. Maybe put it on somewhere like on Cartoon Network or something. I think that would be really, really cool.
I actually would hope if they did do it, they wouldn't put it on Cartoon Network. I would just want them to release it as a web series.
No.
But that's just me. Mostly because I don't want Cartoon Network to get its claws on anything.
Well, here's the thing. I couldn't see them really doing that, though, because if they're going to make it into a full-blown series, I feel like a web series wouldn't get as much revenue as it would take to actually fund making the thing.
Yeah, that's also very true. I mean, I don't think, Overwatch is done so enormously well already that, like, I am sure whatever money went into making the animated shorts has been made back. I can't even imagine how many times.
Oh, yes.
But, like, creating a series is a very different animal, and it kind of makes me wonder, should they? I think they should. I think it would be a good idea. Can they, though? I don't know if they can. Like, I don't know if it's within their, monetary... Blizzard has a lot of money, but I don't know if they are of the... What's the word I'm looking for? Their CGI team is great at what they do. Yeah, exactly. If it's in their wheelhouse. Their CGI team is great at what they do. Could they make a series, though? That I'm not 100%.
See, here's the thing, is if they did do it, I feel like they'd have to dumb down the graphics considerably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It would still
Obviously,
look good, but it wouldn't look as good as
obviously,
those shorts.
You couldn't do it right, but you couldn't do it to the same degree that the current animated shorts have.
Well, the current animated shorts are entirely in-game assets.
But that doesn't mean anything, though. Like,
I'm just saying, like, they're
Here's
just
the
doctored up to hell. Yeah.
well, they're doctored up, but here's the thing: it's like it requires more than that. If you want to animate like a new episode for something like every 2 weeks, if you
Yeah.
have like a yearly schedule,
Yeah.
you've got to do about one episode either every month, every 2 weeks, or every week as you go along. So you've only got a very limited window of time to get everything animated, everything lit, storyboarded, written, voice acted. You have to move fast. So, I mean, 3D helps with that a lot as opposed to traditional hand-drawn animation.
Mhm.
But they wouldn't be able to spend this kind of time that they do on on these 5-minute little shorts. You know,
Right.
if they're going to be doing like 22-minute long episodes every couple of weeks or every month or so.
Yeah. I want to point out that the animated shorts as they were now, looking at the release dates, Recall was the first one, which is the one with Winston and Reaper, was released March 23rd. Alive, which was the next one, which starred Widowmaker and Tracer, was released April 5th.
And started a whole lot of Yuri.
Let's not talk about that.
No, let's talk about that. That's the new podcast
No,
theme.
yes, let's
Can we
talk about
not?
that.
I'm not going to make that the podcast theme. If I see graphics of Widowmaker, if I see that image of Tracer hugging Widowmaker's ass on screen right now, I'm going to be real upset, Cream.
Kyle, you have to do it now.
And then the next
Welcome
one
to the Yuri
is,
podcast.
God damn it!
Well, I am on this podcast, so it kind of has to default to that.
Anyway, the next short that was released was Dragons, which was the Hanzo and Genji one. That was released May 16th. So there was a giant jump. We went a whole month between Alive and Dragons before one was
Hashtag
released.
Genji didn't do anything wrong. Hashtag Hanzo's an asshole.
I'm not having this conversation right now.
Yeah, Jones and I have very differing opinions on the.
Hanzo is really,
Yeah.
really cool, and he would be the protagonist of any anime ever.
No, he was the villain in their backstory. He killed his brother.
Yeah,
because he was
and
a
the whole
crystal.
point of his character is that he goes through a redemption arc. That's
By
like a
killing
show
more
right
people.
there. Yeah,
And then
they're
try to kill his
fine.
brother again.
They're fine. They're okay.
No, they're not.
They're
Ah.
fine. Anyway, the next short, which was titled Hero, which starred Soldier 76, probably my personal favorite, was released in May the 22nd. So their release schedule for the shorts, which are on average of about... Recall was 8 minutes, Alive was 6 minutes, Dragons was 8 minutes, Hero was just short of 7. So they have like this 6 to 8 minute short thing, and it takes them roughly, I don't know, several weeks between each one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, no, not even. March 23rd to April 5th, that was like, what, 2-3 weeks? But then there's that big month gap, so there's no consistent schedule here. It's hard to judge how long it takes them to make this. We don't know enough about the process that went into making just these for that
Right.
team.
No, totally agree.
Well, here's the thing.
So,
though.
Now, having said
if
that,
this was created as a series, chances are Blizzard themselves would not be the ones working on it. They would likely
yeah, see, that's the thing I'm
license
trying
it
to get
out
at. It's like
Yeah,
sell
that's
to
the
an
thing.
actual
That's the
animation
only
company.
practical way to do it.
Yes.
I
That's
feel
the only
like that
practical way to do it.
they could either do that or they could expand their current animation studio. One of the two. Either way, there's definitely ways that they could get around this whole, well, would they be able to do it or not? Because, I mean, Blizzard's a huge freaking company. They've got the money, they've got the resources. Overwatch has been a complete success, the game
Yeah.
itself. So, I mean, there's the precedence there in order for them to do it.
And there's public demand. Like every single
Yeah.
video I ever talked to, and every person I talk to about Overwatch, everyone who's ever seen the animated shorts, every time I look at the animated shorts and I go through comments and threads and all that stuff, there's always at least, I want to say, 2-3 people who are saying, why can't we get like an actual film or series off of this? And they have kind of worked to expand it a little more after the animated shorts with the comics, but the comics are a different medium. Like that's something
Yes.
that's going to appeal to a different crowd.
A
And
much
not
more
everyone's
niche
going to want
crowd.
to read the comics. And the comics aren't all that great. Like some of them are better than others. Admittedly. Like the McCree comic was kind of boring, whereas the Reinhardt comic was amazing. Like it's different. It just depends.
To be fair, McCree's kind of worthless, and Reinhardt is pretty rad.
You're just salty because of High Noon. And so
Isn't everybody?
I am. Fuck.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. So, like,
See,
the real question we're here
triggered.
The question we're here to, like, talk about isn't whether or not we think it could get made. Obviously, we all think that it could.
Mm-hmm.
And I know at least you and me, Jones, definitely think that it should. The real
think
question that we should be talking about that I'd like to discuss is, what would you like to see from a series if it was done?
Oh, okay.
This actually, let me start here because I actually have an answer for this because I've been thinking about this.
You know, you do your thing because I have some thoughts as well. But you go ahead.
I'm sure you do, but my thoughts, which are clearly superior, go like this. It's been a while, I realized, thinking about it, that we've had a kind of good guy team versus bad guy team cartoon series. Really, that kind of whole genre kind of died out in the 90s, late 90s, going into the early 2000s. I mean, you don't really have
animated series is they don't have He-Man versus Skeletor anymore.
I was thinking more like G.I. Joe sort of thing, or He-Man.
Oh yeah,
things like that. That really kind of just
that's
stopped happening. We have protagonists and villains, but it's kind of like not that direct good guy versus bad guy, fate of the world sort of thing.
Here's the interesting thing about Overwatch is they don't actually have villains. Like, you could make a case for Reaper and Widowmaker.
Reaper and Widowmaker are definitely villains.
Well, here's the thing, though. Widowmaker is like kind of an anti-villain, if anything.
Well, she's an anti-villain because she was made a villain. She wasn't like
exactly. And with Reaper,
villain.
I've heard theories regarding him saying that Talon might be extorting him or blackmailing him due to his condition. The point is like, even if they were the villains here, that's two villains amongst like a 22 character cast, and I don't really feel like either one of them have strong enough motivations for being the bad guys.
Right.
So
well, that's the thing that they try and tease is that like even those two characters could be part of the new Overwatch because it's the comic book thing. It's we need a reason for the villains to team up with the heroes, and then the villains become heroes for a short amount of time. Like, and that's all you need, really.
Yes.
But I agree with what Cream is saying in that if they were to create a sort of... That's the thing. I agree. If they were to do this, I could see it being made in like a G.I. Joe fashion where you have a large cast of characters versus, villain of the week.
See, here's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Cream, Kyle, he never watched Clone Wars with us, and this is why I think like that format would be amazing for this, because by the time it was getting into like the second and third seasons of that show, it wasn't just one episode anymore for like a thing. It was like 4-episode long arcs, and I feel like it would really work well with Overwatch to do something similar, because you have this huge cast of characters, and if you had this format where you could divert a lot of time to individual arcs for each character and maybe groups of them, it would work a lot better than if you had like this. Because like, if the problem is with like Thundercats and He-Man and them, the teams are still pretty small. It's like they're the 5-man band.
They're not 22 people big.
Right. They're 5-man bands. Right.
Yeah.
And Overwatch is a lot bigger than that. So what I think would work a lot better is if they you have one arc where you devote it entirely to, like, say, Bastion, right?
Which you get totally could do.
Right. Oh, we've had discussions about this. Or you could do
Bastion's secretly one of the best characters on that cast. He's like a Miyazaki character. He's genius.
He really is. Or you could do it with any of them. Like, okay, we'll use May, for instance, right?
Yeah.
You could have, like, a whole thing where she's coming to terms with the world as it is and using that as a medium to get into introducing other characters, kind of getting the viewer up to speed on what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
While exploring her own issues of, well, maybe should we bring Overwatch back? It's gone, but for me, it was just yesterday. It was still around. Just like, and you could have like all of that, her arc through that, play off of all of these other points in the world of the character. I feel like going for that kind of a format would really work well.
Yeah, I've said it before, and I feel like of the cast, one of the characters that I think is the most marketable and probably the one that you could base the entire franchise off of, which they have because she's on the fucking box, is Tracer.
Oh my god, yeah. Tracer is like the total
She's
protagonist written all over.
She is the protagonist by all accounts. She has main character written all over her. And the reason she is because of all the characters, she's the one who, from the original project of Titan, which became Overwatch, she was the character that remained mostly unchanged. And it shows. There's so much like love and affection put into that character. It's amazing. And she appeals to so many different like groups. She's, fun for kids. She's kind of, a role model, but she's also is able to be fun and sexy. Like, she's definitely a character that you could make an entire, you could build an entire franchise around Tracer by herself.
I would kind of liken her, if we're going with the Clone Wars analogy, I would say maybe she's kind of like Ahsoka. I wouldn't want them to make this whole show about her, but having the show happening around her would be, I think that would be an interesting way to go.
And she's also uncomplicated. Like, she has a very simple, good guy view of the world of just trying to do your best and, trying to make the world a better place, and everyone can identify with that. Like,
yes.
we were talking about this at length, and we kind of were pointing out different characters that we thought could be used to sort of build, the audience could connect with. Because it is a very complicated, well, not complicated setting, but it is odd. It's definitely not your average setting. It's our world, but it's in the future, and it's after a war between humans and machines. And of the characters, some are kind of harder to get around and kind of identify with. Like, I don't know, maybe Winston. Like, I don't know how many.
See, here's the thing, though, because we had a short with Winston, and Winston is fucking adorable. Like,
Winston's great.
I love him. Like,
yeah,
even though he's
fantastic.
He's this giant monkey scientist character that you would think would be really hard to be able to connect with, but Winston's really cool. So it's that's the thing. It's so great about the setting is that the characters are so solid and interesting.
Right. Yeah, and we were talking about what characters could you sort of build a series around, and obviously you want to see all of them, but you are always going to see some more than others. Tracer was definitely one we talked about. Diva was one we talked about because Diva is of the characters. I don't know if she's actually the youngest. Is she? I think she is the actual youngest of the cast.
Yes.
But she's the youngest, and she also has a sort of
competitive streak.
A competitive streak that I think people can identify with, but also she's coming into the cast completely new. She's coming into the cast completely fresh. She wasn't a veteran like Soldier 76 or Tracer. She wasn't someone who, already was a big hero. She was sort of a person who...
Well, she kind of was, actually.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's that, you're right. She was sort of this war hero for the Korean, the Mobile Exo Force of the Korean Army, which is still the greatest acronym ever. MECHA. But, so Diva's another one, which you could probably experiment with, but... we definitely talked about another thing we talked about that I liked was Widowmaker, who surprisingly at first she would be very easy to write off as a villain, but you can do so much with her whole backstory of brainwashing and alteration. And
here's the thing that I think really makes it work cool is that you don't have to do just one or the other. I was rewatching X-Men Evolution recently because I watched Apocalypse and I was like, well, this sucks. So
did you? Did it suck?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it had parts of it that were really cool, but there were other parts of it that were just lame. But
I still haven't seen it. I probably won't.
But my favorite rendition of the X-Men has always been, my favorite rendition of X-Men has always been Evolution because I feel like that of all the series that I've seen of them, it's the one that balanced all the characters the most, and the way that it did it. I think an example of it that worked really well was one of the episodes. It was the episode regarding Wolverine going back to Alkali Lake and confronting the person that gave him his adamantium skeleton. Now, if this episode had been made in modern days, that whole episode would have been just about Wolverine.
Right.
Because flipping Wolverine is flipping everywhere, and I hate it.
Wolverine is the Batman of Marvel. If you put Wolverine in it, it'll make more money.
But what I liked about Evolution was that he wasn't the focus of the whole show.
No, not like Wolverine and the X-Men, which was the series that came after that.
Literally, it's in the title. It's Wolverine and the X-Men are just kind of there. But no.
Yep.
It's kind of all the movies, too.
In this episode, it wasn't just about Wolverine. It had Wolverine in it. It was about his struggle. but it also had Shadowcat and Nightcrawler in it too, and it was also about Shadowcat kind of realizing the importance of family. So it's like they took two characters. One character was dealing with their stuff, but they used it as a medium to kind of make both of these characters bond, and both of their characters advance. And I feel like you could really do that well with Overwatch, because you could have just one arc based on Reaper and 76, right? Like them working together and having to deal with one another and all their garbage and baggage. But you could also bring in a lot of other characters and kind of have like underlying B plots and C plots going on along with it, like Mercy not being able to help Reaper with his problem, or Tracer, looking up to both of these heroes but not being able to reconcile them. You could just do a lot of really cool stuff, not where one character's getting shoved to the side or another one's getting pushed to the side, but where they all intermesh together with their storytelling.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I will 100% agree with that. And I've been thinking about this, and I feel like there are some characters that feel like they because the game sort of exists storyline-wise in this limbo, there are some characters that I feel like have these destined endings that we're not going to get. Like, we know Reinhardt, one day he's going to die. Like, he said it over and over again in-game, where he's like, I will fight to my last breath. And that's genuinely what he believes. That will not die an old man, that he's going to die on the battlefield. That's the way he wants to go.
That's the thing that I find the most infuriating about this whole situation, is that these characters do have arcs built into them. Like,
exactly, yeah.
76 has one just on, bringing back Overwatch and dealing with his baggage, and Widowmaker's got one hell of a one with dealing with all the crap she's gone through and how that hasn't been resolved.
Right.
Yeah. Mercy.
Hey,
and
I killed my husband, which just doesn't matter though. It's a footnote in my backstory.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I feel like these characters have so much potential for growth, and they have so much. They have untold stories, and I feel like not being able to get those in a worthwhile medium is soul crushing.
I just know that if they were like, I want to see if Reinhardt is going to die, I want it to be in a moment that earns it. I don't want it to just be a voice clip.
Or something
in
a 5-minute web series video thing.
Not just that. Yeah, exactly. Well, no, I don't think they'll kill him in an animated short. But my point is that, like, that line of "I will fight to my last breath," like, in a narrative sense, is cool. But, like, it only ever really has value when he dies. Like, he's a great character. Like, I want to see if they were going to handle him, that there would be, like, he would be this big, heroic, larger-than-life character like he is in the game, and when he dies, it has more meaning. Like, if it's just a soundbite in a video game, it's like, okay. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like there's as much gravity there if he wasn't a person going through struggles and, being alongside his allies and doing more. Like, you get that when you play Reinhardt. Like, you feel as strong as the character is portrayed to be, but you kind of want more. You just want more out of it, and I think that is something that repeats through the entire cast. Like Winston. I mean, I was knocking Winston because I was thinking that maybe an audience wouldn't be ultra on board with him, but he's a fucking monkey. How are you not on board with him? But at the same time, he has a whole shtick with the Horizon Lunar Colony and how all the apes that were being made intelligent on the moon rebelled, and he escaped. And that plot thread is completely abandoned. Like, that he never goes back 30 years later. Or however many years later. I don't think it's literally 30 years. But he never goes back to the moon. And we never see it again. And it's not talked about again. Which is crazy. Because there's there's Planet of the Apes going on to the moon. Like, that's like a 6-episode arc right there.
Yes, it is.
There's so much content and richness to the lore. And there are some characters that I'd love to see interact more. Like, I want to see Zarya interact with the entire cast, because she is, like, this really intelligently designed character, but she's also, like, an ultra-nationalist robot racist. Like, it's great. I know,
right? Seeing her interact with both Genji and Zenyatta and Bastion, too.
Yeah.
Especially Bastion, because, like, Bastion actually fought in the war and was built to murder people. Like, holy hell.
Yeah, no, and I've said it before, but I mentioned it briefly that I think Bastion's one of the most intelligently designed characters because his whole shtick is that he was abandoned, if I recall correctly. He was like just abandoned out in the wilderness, and when he reactivated, he sort of spontaneously had a personality where there was none before. And since he's a Bastion model, Bastion models were these specific Omnic robot models that were designed solely for warfare. He doesn't really have a way of communicating intelligently. Like, not really. He doesn't speak. So his entire communication is through bird calls, which is him observing the world around him, learning from it, and learning how to communicate. That's so cool! Like, that is so cool! Like, you could have an entire thing with Bastion where he doesn't speak at all, and you can have an entire arc built around him, just like Miyazaki-esque, of like beautiful nature shots and Bastion wandering the world and, you know, learning more about humans. Like, there's so much. I feel like I'm repeating myself.
I feel like I would really like to, and exploring not just that, but also the time during the war too. You know, you could get a really visual, like just no talking through the whole thing, but just play it off on pure visuals. You could do some really cool stuff with that. You could
do that purely through 76 and like his experiences and his perspective of the war. And then that's contrasted by Reaper's experience during the war and the years that went after.
Yeah, no, I would really like to see like an arc that just deals with like their past and how they went from being like best friends to just hating one another's guts.
Yeah, no, and it's there are YouTube series out there like that like pick apart the dialogue that we have heard and haven't heard, like stuff that's buried in the game files and that sort of thing, that sort of pick that stuff apart and sort of draw some conclusions, like how Reaper's, you know, Blackwatch unit started to undermine Overwatch and sort of turned it into like this giant criminal profiteering ring, and like Overwatch got cut in half. And there's theories, like there's a line in McCree's comic where Talon agents, Talon, the terrorist organization that created Widowmaker and is supposedly behind a lot of the negative events that are going on right now, which would be the Cobra, as Cream would describe them.
Mm-hmm.
Talon hijacks this train, and McCree sees how they're, you know, doing the operation. He's like, what they're doing, this is Blackwatch stuff. This is my playbook. I used to, these are my moves, like what they're doing. So people are thinking that is Reaper training Talon operatives how to, you know, be more effective in fighting Overwatch agents, or are there former Blackwatch people in Talon? Like, there's so much that's just left open that you want answers for. And it's probably both, honestly, but still, like, it drives me nuts because there is so much potential. And I feel like it's being not ignored. I think the Blizzard team understands what they have, but it's worrying that they might just squander it.
Yes.
And not that they're incapable. I think they're totally capable. I don't think that's anything we're arguing. I think they could totally go further.
It's a matter of how willing they are and how and in what way they're going to do it.
Yeah, and I think I agreed with you guys when you said that the best way to handle this would be to probably, you know, hand it off to some other company or some other studio to build it. But because I don't see them expanding their own internal, like, you know, wheelhouse to incorporate this. I don't know. I think even like the comics and stuff is being done by Blizzard, but it's also being done by, if I recall correctly, it's being done by other writers. So I don't know. I would definitely like to see where it goes. I am looking forward to more because they say they're going to keep making animated shorts. They said that Hero was the last one for the season. Fourth and final animated short for this season. So I don't know what that means. Like, are we going to see more in the summer? Which supposedly we are. I mean, I would have to imagine so because we're also getting new characters.
Okay, like, you know what? I just thought about this, and I can't believe I didn't think of it to start with. But
yeah,
we're talking about what network we want to see this on. Why not Netflix?
Does Netflix have any cartoon series of their own?
They have a few. They have like BoJack Horseman, and they have one. Fuck. Hold on. Let me look. I have it right here. Okay. Netflix originals. They have some anime.
So
Not
the
a
answer
whole
is
lot
yes.
as far as animation goes. They have one. They have another. They have the How to Train Your Dragons series is Netflix original.
Oh yeah.
Wait, I thought that was on Cartoon Network.
No, it's a different one.
Yeah, there's
Different
Riders
one.
of Berk.
Dragons
that's
Race
on.
to the Edge.
Yeah, Riders of Berk.
This is
what's on
Race to
Cartoon
the
Network.
Edge. Race to the Edge is apparently Netflix only.
I've heard
So
nothing about
there's precedent for Netflix to pick up. Okay, apparently there's another animated series called Kong, King of the Apes that I didn't know about.
that.
So
Never
yeah,
heard of that.
there's precedent. Yeah, there's precedent for animated series on Netflix. And hopefully that rumor that they want to pick up Young Justice is true.
I know, right?
That would be nice.
That's for the topic for another podcast, though.
That would be nice, but we can talk about that a whole nother time. But like, if that happens, boy howdy.
I would
I'll
say
be
another
so happy, yes.
option is it is Cartoon Network still, but having it on Adult Swim would be another option because that's more of a late night, semi-adult time slot, and there's a lot more
Right.
they can do during that time. I remember for a while, I've heard nothing about it recently, but for a while there was talk of Team Fortress 2 getting its own series on Adult Swim.
Yeah,
I don't know if that
that
just
was
fell
discussed.
through.
That was discussed, and I believe it just fell through. I think there was like a creative differences sort of thing.
I think we can
Like,
really
very
get into
vague.
like all kinds of a topic about fucking Valve and why they can't seem to do anything anymore.
Valve is a strange company. Just they're a very strange company. They are like
They're a unique
even
beast
in
that-
terms of
We can't get into
No,
that.
yeah.
We cannot
No.
get into that. We will be at that for hours if we get into
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we really shouldn't. But the point is that I think you are correct. I think since there is a precedent and Netflix is only getting bigger, like it's
Yeah.
only getting, they're only doing more originals. Like
Mhm.
they are
Yeah.
swallowing up show after show, and just making more and more stuff. So
And if the Young Justice thing is true, it's like they're even getting into reviving older dead shows. Like, holy shit.
yeah, no, there is definitely, and they've done it before. There are shows that they've revived
Yeah.
that were not going to get made. Like I think what was it? The God damn it, I can't remember what it was. I
Very
just
insightful.
watched it the other day.
So
I'm sorry,
insightful.
there was some show. There were a lot of shows that they like. I think Bloodline was a show that was originally supposed to be on like HBO or Stars or one of those things and got like thrown out, but Netflix was like, we'll do it. So like they're definitely capable and willing, but well, I mean I don't know if they'd be willing to handle something of Overwatch, but
I think they would be.
I wonder, is there like a stigma here though? Is another thing I want to point out because typically, like historically, things based off of video games, like haven't done great and haven't been great.
Okay, but here's
just,
the thing, though.
you
Here's
know-
the reason for that, is that they try to be so much like the video game themselves, often video games that are already richly story-based, that
Right.
trying
Right.
to translate that into a movie involves cutting so much, removing so much interaction. It doesn't really work right.
Whereas
however,
here we have a unique situation in that we have a game that has a great story, but hasn't been told at all.
yeah,
Right.
So,
You-
all the
you
cliff
wouldn't really be
notes and
messing anything
story
up,
is
would you?
there.
Nope.
Everything's there. You don't need to
Right.
worry about the gameplay at all. Like I said earlier, the gameplay is entirely non-canon. It doesn't matter what the hell's happening in the game. We have all of the story just sitting here in a neat little pile in someone's binder. Just take that,
Right.
shove it into an animation machine, and there you go.
Yeah, no, you are definitely correct. I only bring it up because also Blizzard just today had their big film release, which was Warcraft, which I've heard mixed things about, but I'm going to probably go see it because I loved the games and I've heard good things that if you're a fan you'll enjoy it. And that's the thing, like even if you are concerned about making something video game related and that psychs you out and you don't feel like it can be done, don't think about it that way. Like they like the thing that always seems to kill those projects is, do we make it for the fans or do we make it for everybody? And this isn't even a case where I think you need
that
to
would
pick
even be
between
an
the two.
issue. I mean, because it hasn't been told yet. It hasn't
Not
been
just-
made.
not only because it hasn't been told yet, but because I think there are characters here in Overwatch that everyone can get behind. No one's going to point at Tracer and be like, what the fuck is this? I don't want to watch this. No, you're going to watch Tracer because she's awesome. Of course you're going to watch Tracer. Like, are you kidding me?
I'd watch
Tracer hour, all day, every day. Dude, I'd booty butt, cheeks. Anyway.
That's every female character in the game.
It really is.
Hey man, not everyone had a literal. It's true. Not everyone had a literal internet explosion over their ass. But let's not get off track. I will say though that I will say though that if they were going to do this, and if it was within their power, and if they managed to find the right people to handle it, because I don't see Blizzard's team doing it. I don't see them committing to that themselves. I see them much more likely handing this to someone else. Netflix would make sense. I think that Adult Swim thing you were discussing, like, I think that's actually makes a lot of sense to me. Because Adult Swim's also sort of a place for experimental things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's also, like, where you put things that don't really fit anywhere else. And I feel like unless you were making Overwatch purely for kids...
Which you can't, because the game itself is already rated T. It's rated teen.
You totally can. Like, there's no content here that's overly,
I don't think that's exact. Well, I mean...
let's be honest, cartoons have been getting kind of more mature lately. They could probably get away with what they do.
No.
Okay,
I'm not saying
thinking of Widowmaker and her whole thing, but then...
Yeah.
I remember, what was it? Transformers... Which
Prime.
one was it? It was the good one.
Prime.
It was on recent...
one.
Yeah, it was Prime. Like, that whole thing with... Yeah, because there were some episodes in that I feel like were very similar, that were really dark, regarding RC and her history that, would be similar. And
how everyone she gets close to dies?
Yeah, like that one scene with, I think it was Starscream, and her ex-partner that got tortured to death. Cartoons are getting pretty dark these days, so, I could see it.
I don't think there's anything here that is, like I said, I don't think there's anything here that's would be pushing too many boundaries. Like, maybe sex appeal. But even then, no one gives a shit about that. Well, people give a shit about that, but I feel like anybody making this wouldn't care about that. Not too much, because, again, it's not, unless you're making it strictly for kids, which you really wouldn't be. It would be like, so I imagine it being a very action-oriented series. In an ideal world, in a fashion to Clone Wars, which didn't shy away from a lot of risque bits.
It would likely be. It would fit comfortably in a teen rating, and you wouldn't have to change almost anything. Yeah, you could go higher with it, but you wouldn't need to. This isn't like Killing Joke. You wouldn't have to cut it off.
Yeah, it's in the teen area. I wouldn't want them to make it like E for everyone, because I don't feel like that would really work.
That's a little, that's a little too young.
What the hell would they do? Like, they wouldn't be fighting.
Exactly.
Not really.
And that's the thing, is like, it just, because like there's some pretty heavy themes going on in Overwatch. You got war, you've got like human experimentation. There's a lot of dark stuff, and I feel like if you can't, have a little bit of leeway to kind of
racism.
Yeah, that.
Like the gigantic theme of racism.
Yeah. I've dealt with that before, like in kids programming, but I just feel like that it would really kind of have to really be on the line to go to for kids, but like I don't think it would really work very well, because there aren't any kid characters even in the thing. It's like
no, not really. I mean, Diva's as close as you get, but she's 19 and she's more of a teenager kind of gamer. Yeah, and I would say that she's not even like a kid character. Like, there's a difference between like a 19-year-old girl. If a 19-year-old girl is being portrayed, she can be portrayed as a kid character or as a female character. And it's the reason why you guys played Walking Dead, the game, the Telltale series?
Yep.
Clementine is a kid character, not a girl character.
Right.
It's more about her being a kid and being inexperienced with the world rather than her being a female. And I think that's true. I think that's the opposite is true with Diva. Diva, it's more, I think if you were portraying her character, she would be more about, being a woman rather than being a kid. Although people would definitely treat her like a kid, so maybe you could go back and forth with that.
Well, maybe you could, but the thing is, you still got a cast of 20 some odd characters that are almost all adults and aren't really. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a demographic for children.
No, if anything, it would be in the teen slot, like the same kind of vein as X-Men Evolution or Teen Titans or one of those.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
And I would not. I would never ever say no to more action-oriented shows, which are kind of a rarity these days.
We don't have a lot of those straight-up action that we had in the 90s. Things have gone to a lot more to slice of life / adventure lately. This might be a nice show to come and kind of mix up the grouping right now.
Yeah. See, I feel like this show would really lend itself to both, because you've got this giant team, but it's comprised of people that are, just at the end of the day, they're people, and
they would really have to be about.
It would be about their relationships and the situations that arise and how they kind of reconcile the two.
Right.
I really feel like a good example of this would be X-Men. I was talking about X-Men Evolution earlier, and it's like, I feel like that's almost exactly the kind of direction you would want to go with it. It's this large team, but you have moments where it's just this story involving these characters and how they deal with it.
Right.
I would argue that also Prime, Transformers Prime, would be a good example as well, because you had those big set piece episodes with the entire cast. You had all the Decepticons, all the Transformers, all going together, and then you also had those variety of episodes where just one or two characters would be the solo focus. You could easily do that for this as well, just on albeit a slightly larger scale.
Right. No, I'll agree with that. And my thing I want to stress is that I think these characters all have very human motivations and aren't like it's easy to look at Soldier 76 and say, oh, he's generic action hero.
Except he's not.
It's amazing.
He has very human. He has a very human motivations, and once when you go into the depth of his character, he has a lot of duality going on. He used to be a great hero, a great leader, a father figure, a literal superhero. That's the thing, is that I think you need to pitch Overwatch as sort of a superhero thing, because it is. All these characters are genuine heroes. They are called heroes, and you know what it reminds me of? And I said this way back when it was being made, when I was looking at the aesthetic. If you go through the cast of Overwatch and you go one by one, and I told you these were rejected Big Hero 6 designs, you would tell me, you would believe me. You would believe
I would.
Me. Because it looks, and that's the kind of world they're pushing for. And, Big Hero 6 was great.
I really feel like this is kind of like The Incredibles meets Big Hero 6. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Definitely.
Because you have all these
especially
larger-than-life themes here.
Well, the storyline is also similar to Incredibles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In terms of the aesthetic, it's definitely Big Hero 6, but the story is way more Incredibles, and I love it.
It even has elements of family, family struggles. And,
well, Overwatch basically was a family. I mean, it's even referred to as such numerous times by different characters in the game.
Yeah, Winston says so in the opening cinematic when you boot the game. And it's... I don't know, it's all there. All the ingredients are there, I think, is the thing. And you're kind of waiting to see who is the person to pick them up and make something out of them.
I feel like, with the whole superhero angle, it was with Marvel's success lately. Because people don't want that dark, gritty garbage that DC's been shilling out for years now.
I think it's become 100% clear that whatever the hell decisions creatively DC has been making don't work.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to say is the whole grim, dark garbage. No, man, people go to comic hero stuff. There's the dark stuff there, right? In Civil War, but it's also fun. It's larger than life. It's entertaining.
Yeah,
it's
inspiring, heroic,
and I feel like
positive.
Exactly, that's the perfect word. It's heroic, and I feel like that Overwatch has the aesthetic. It's got the pedigree. It's got the It's got everything it needs there to really be successful. heart. It's got a lot of that. Even just in the few like shorts we've seen, like in 5 minutes with Tracer or 76 or Winston, like holy hell, these characters just seem like cool people.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they are.
I reiterate that Hero is my favorite short because it tells you everything you need to know about 76 when he only speaks 2 lines of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. Like there's so much there that doesn't need explaining. Like that's
meaningful, relevant story to be had there, while not at the expense of it also being fun and entertaining. You know, just flipping Tracer on her own, she's just watching her zip around and be silly is just great. Like she's a treasure, and
absolutely. There are other characters like that as well.
Yeah.
Diva's a riot. May is hilarious unintentionally.
And then you have some of like the older or darker characters, you know, that kind of appeal to like the more mature themes, like Mercy with the war, Bastion with, you know, being an ex-soldier.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who would love Reaper. There are people who unironically love Reaper, and I'm one of them.
I know, so am I. Like, he's such an I initially didn't. I thought he was so dumb, but then you made me realize the fact that he is as dumb as he is. Yeah, he's an unrepentant edgelord, but
I think the fact that he doesn't reload his guns, he just throws them away and pulls out new guns. How do you not love that?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. If you've ever seen... Okay, no, it's funny because his whole thing... Have you ever... Okay, there's a movie starring Christian Bale called Equilibrium. And it's an action movie that takes place in, like, a dystopian future. And the whole thing is that, like, the main character is a dude who wears a trench coat and, like, does crazy kung fu moves with his guns and just throws them away rather than reloads them. Like, it's that. Like, it's the dumbest, stupidest, lamest stuff, but it's hilarious and awesome. And I love it because he is unrepentantly edgy. He calls himself Reaper. His voice is like, I'm death. Like, it's great.
Die.
So, yeah. Oh.
Yes.
Oh,
that's the
he's
cool
so
thing,
good.
too. Is like, I feel like that's what makes this setting so cool. It's like, I think Reaper is the perfect example of that, in that he can be this over-the-top, almost even goofy character with, like, these quirks he's got. But at the same time... Yeah. But
he makes a lot of fun.
There's also an interesting character to be had under there, too, that's gone through some stuff and is dealing with some serious issues. Like, his body is literally...
dying.
It's even worse, because, like, he comes back from one cell. He can be disintegrated, and his body will rebuild itself, and it's painful, and it's constantly... His cells are constantly deteriorating and rebuilding, and it's like, that is some heavy shit. But he's such a fucking goofy, weird-ass emo kid that you can't help but to love him anyway.
No, he's great. I think he's great.
That is what is so magical about the setting, is that it has both of those things. It has these characters that can be entertaining and fun, but also when it comes time to tell a serious story with heart and meaning, there's potential for that, too. And I feel like not capitalizing on the setting that you have here, which is amazing, is just insane.
Another one who I think is a great example of that is Reinhardt, who has, you know, just as much experience, if not more. And
Reinhardt
one of the great things...
gigantic, big, beefy, just smashes all kinds of stuff with his hammer. But he is such a big, dumb dork.
He looks like a Dark Souls
one of the
villain.
greatest lines. One of the greatest lines in the entire game is when, he's talking to Lucio, and Lucio's like, yo, man, we need to get you some new tunes. And Reinhardt's like, I love the classics. Oh, that was Russian. That wasn't German at all. But he's like, I love the classics. Have you ever listened to Hasselhoff? I love Night Rocker. And I'm like, what the hell is Night Rocker? I pop up YouTube, listen to Night Rocker. This is the lamest shit ever. It's great.
And then there's that one with Diva that I love, where he's just like, can I have your autograph? It's for a friend. And she's like, aw, of course. Yeah. Like, fucking Reinhardt should be this big, badass, super tough, like, edgelord drill sergeant. But he's not. He's this big, dumb, lovable guy that just want to give a hug, even though, it'd probably push him.
Yeah, no, that's also true.
That's the whole thing. It's great.
Yeah, there's so much here that not doing anything with it is criminal. And, I would hope that if they were going to do it, they wouldn't do it purely because of demand, that they would do it because they feel like there's a lot they can do. I want them to do it naturally, organically, and because they know they see potential, not just because people want it.
Well,
I want it to keep its heart.
And the audience is there.
Yeah.
All they have to do is
neither
just
of
pull the
those things
pin.
hurt.
Neither
of those things hurt.
There's only one thing I want
I know what this is
for
gonna
them
be.
to do. If
Okay.
they do.
Yeah.
Tracer Widowmaker OTP.
God damn it. God damn it. What happened to Farah Mercy OTP?
Oh, that one too. Far Mercy. Best
Okay.
ship name.
Far Mercy?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, that's
Yes.
That's
Like
the
pharmacy?
worst.
Like pharmacy?
No, your
Yes.
ship name can't be a pun.
Yes, it can.
all ship names should be puns.
No, it's meant to be.
No, don't do
It's
this to
perfect.
me. Why are you doing this to me? I never asked for
Look,
this.
Gabe, you should just be excited we got this far in without Alex losing his mind over Mercy.
It's true. I'm sorry.
Okay, yes, Mercy.
Oh God, no!
Yes,
Stop the podcast.
No, it's
Stop the
over.
podcast.
It's over. We're at the end. That's the end of the podcast.
Oh, come on.
That's the end of the
But Mercy
podcast.
is factually the best character.
Oh God. Okay.
We
So,
don't have
hey,
another 2
for
hours
those
to
of you
talk
who
about
are
Mercy.
watching this,
Look,
we're not.
okay,
We can't.
I
literally
understand.
cannot.
No, everybody's got different tastes, and people want to add different things from different characters, and people like who they like. But Mercy is just the best, and if you're not on board with that, you're wrong. And
Anyway,
I don't know. We should probably purge you from the population because you're just.
for those of you who are listening to this and are enjoying our podcast, loyal listeners who we very much appreciate,
Yo.
tell us what you think. If you have or haven't played Overwatch, if you have seen the animated shorts, tell us what you think about them. And, chip in because, this is definitely a topic that's been going around for quite a while and has caused a lot of buzz. And as they make more animated shorts, it's only going to hang around. So, what would you like to see in a theoretical series? Who's your favorite character?
What
Any of
network
that
should it
stuff.
be
We'd
on?
like to hear your input. Oh yeah, definitely. That's an important question that I keep skipping around because I don't have a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that Adult Swim thing is probably ideal. Although I wouldn't say no to a Netflix series. But
I think Netflix would probably be the best for it because the thing with Cartoon Network is they do tend to have a tendency to kind of get in
Ruin
their
things?
studio's business.
Yeah.
Not ruin things. I actually feel like Cartoon Network's a pretty well. I fucking have a
ruins
love-hate
things in
relationship
Cartoon
with
Network
them.
does.
Like
They just-
sometimes they do stuff that's really good, like Steven Universe,
Uh,
and then they do fucking Teen Titans Go behind my back. So it's like,
you're never gonna let that go.
no,
It never should
fucking
be.
Hell, are you? It's the worst thing ever.
It's not
made.
that bad.
It's not that good either.
It's not that good either. I didn't say it was good.
Made it. Actively are trying super hard. They say this in an interview.
Yeah, and they reconciled that though. They stopped that stuff. Anyway, that's another podcast for another day.
Defending Teen Titans Go. We can't be friends anymore. Do you hear yourself? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? No,
I think
seriously.
let's put an
What
end
is
to
that? Are you
Okay, okay,
you have
that's
brain
enough.
cancer?
Yep, that's enough.
That's enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, heroes
That's
may
enough
never
for now.
die, but sadly this podcast must. Thank you very much for joining us here today, and we will see you next time on DeTooned. Have a good night,
Have
people.
fun, guys, and remember-
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Take it easy.
Bye.